Tommaso, hey, good morning, man. Well, hey, it's morning for me, but it's afternoon for you, isn't it?
Yes, the two o'clock in the afternoon.
Nice. So, everybody, we're here with Tommaso Rumici, Italian knife designer. So while I'm here in the U.S. waking up to my morning coffee, you're about midday over there. So thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us today. I greatly appreciate this.
It's a pleasure for me.
So for everybody watching, we actually met a little while ago for the first time at SHOT Show 2020 when you were representing the company Steel Will. Now, I was covering the brand new products for 2020, but at the end of that interview, you actually revealed that you are the designer for the Steel Will piercer.
Until now, I designed for them this knife that is the piercer. Maybe some of you already know it.
Now, we are going to get into this in depth, but knife design for you is not the only thing you do. What is it that you do full time for your day job?
Okay, so knife design is my first job because it's the first one I started. Because I think 15 years ago I started with Viper, an Italian company, and after a few years, one of the main Italian magazines asked me to start writing for them. So I also became a writer. I made a lot of review. I took a lot of pictures, and I went to a lot of show, from Blade Show to IWA, and now the SHOT Show, and some smaller ones around Italy and around Europe. Everything started from the design, and then they asked me to write because I was already a designer.
Oh, wow. So you said you started designing with Viper. When did you actually start designing knives? I mean, how old were you, and when did you really get started? And was Viper the first time, or had you already been kind of putting designs to paper prior to that?
No, Viper was the first one, and the story was quite strange, I think, because every time I speak with someone, they ask me what kind of schools I've been attending at, or what was my route to start designing knives. Something like I think probably for the usual people, they think I was looking to start knife designing from when I was at the primary school. Okay, it's not absolutely like that, because it's probably I was lucky. Okay, first of all, because everything started because I've always been a knife fan. Okay, so I carry a knife from when I was, I think, 6 or something like that. And in 2005, I was simply designing a knife for me, and that knife was the Fearless, the first one I designed. And I made a few wooden mock-ups just to feel the ergonomics, to see how the knife will perform in real life. And I showed them to my friend Rudy Collini, who is the owner of, I think it's the bigger Italian shop. And he told me, it's nice. Why don't you ask to someone in Maniago if they are interested in doing something? Okay, so probably I choose the right time, simply. Okay, it's not because it was me, but I was in the right place in the right time. And Viper at the time didn't have any tactical line, so my Fearless was the first one of their tactical knives. It wasn't even named Viper, but it was named Technocat, because it was the first try. So Technocut is the main brand that owns the Viper brand. So we tried with Viper because we were not sure about the answer from the market, and we didn't want to compromise the Viper brand at first. But the results were absolutely stunning. So it was a good step.
That's incredible and really interesting. And the fact that, you know, regionally you're in an incredible place. I mean, Maniago is obviously well known for their high quality cutlery. So to be able to come up with a design, pitch it to the right brand in the right location, I mean, that's absolutely incredible the way that went down. And man, what a path it's put you on. So that's really cool. And I think it's great to be somebody who has an idea and is entrepreneurial, at least to the point where you stick your neck out and say, hey, I'm willing to give this a shot. A lot of people may have, you know, had their mock-up sitting in their hands and never followed through, but bottom line is you did it and it worked. So congratulations, man. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. I must say that probably I started and I am here now with you because I had a lot of people who helped me and who believed in me before I was anything. So, Rudy told me, why don't you go? And Giovanni, the owner of Viper, decided to give a try to a project that was completely outside from what they did until that moment. And also my local knife shop, I've been going around that shop, I think, from when I was 8. Okay, so I had a lot of people who helped me to, first of all, believe in myself, and then believe in my work, and then take a look around at see what's in the knife world and probably what is lacking and where can I insert with my design.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So with your design, I guess my question is, what was your inspiration for the tactical knife, and who, as other designers, did you look to for some inspiration?
Okay, I think that there is not a specific designer, okay, because I'm in all my designs, they are quite different one to another, but I hope that if you look at them, you see that they are functional, okay? So every time I design something, obviously, sometimes I just draw on a notebook, or I make some sketches, or just to when I have some free time. But when I start with a project with an idea of a collaboration, I always start from what is the knife supposed to do. So if we need a fighter, I know that I have to work on the human body, so the blade should be that way. If you want an EDC, okay, we are speaking about a completely different use, so the blade will be different, the handle also will be different. So every time this is the first step, and then it gives me some limits, so I understand how I can move and what I can't do.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I think a good functional design, I mean, it always translates into not just the blade shape, but the handle, the length of the overall knife, sometimes even with a fixed blade, how it carries. So I think coming from that, the user perspective and the intended purpose when you start a design, that's absolutely the way to go. And I can see that with the knives I have in my hands here today. So very well done.
Okay, answering to your question, when I started designing that knife, the first one, I was studying martial arts, so also knife fighting. Okay, I'm not a teacher. I will never tell you I will teach how to fight, because I never had a knife fight in real life. So I can't teach anything to anyone. Okay, but at that time I was looking at fighting knives, so I started from World War II fighting knives, like fiber and sights, or the Mark II from Gerber, and the Applegate, and then all the single-edge knives going around for military use, for the combat utility knives. So I started from there. I found out what the main characteristics that for me needs to be in a fighting knife, and then I started with a few designs.
Ah, great. So, have you ever actually made a knife, a fully functional knife yourself?
Yes, but not for not to be shown around. Okay, because I have a grinder, I have a milling machine, but I use them just to study, I would say. Sometimes I try to do a blade just to see if it's possible to do that kind of beveling, or to understand a specific way of construction, but I'm not a knife maker. Probably I would like to be in the future, but I started from the other side. Okay, usually you see people starting from knife making and then going with the manufacturers. I started from manufacturers.
That's interesting. And so, speaking of manufacturers, now obviously you've talked a little bit about Viper. We're going to get into steel will. Are there any other manufacturers that you've teamed up with on your designs?
Okay, in these 15 years, I designed something like 32 different lines of knives, with, I think, 10 or 12 different brands. So the first one was Viper, then I went with Fantoni. That is a smaller company, but I think it's well known in the US. I also had the collaboration with DPX Gear through Lion Steel, and then I designed the Lion Steel pen. I worked with Antonini Knives in Maniago for a series of rescue knives. I designed for Mazarin. I also made a few projects with my local shop. One made by Mazarin, the other one made by Fox. And then I also designed a knife, the Octopus, for Fox. So I'm working with several different companies. I also helped starting the knife production of Summit Knife Company, that was the last year they was at the Blade Show for the first time. So I'm always trying to find new partners and to work with different companies, especially because sometimes some people told me that it's right to work with a few ones, or maybe with just one company. Okay, but what I saw in my experience is that every company is different, and every company can do, maybe they can do the same thing, but they can do it in different ways, because one have the latest CNC machine, the other one needs to find a way to do the same work with an older one, and you can find a company who can cast iron, and another one who can work with the titanium. So every time I work with a different company, I learn something, and then the more I learn, the best is for all my customers, because I always knew different solutions to different problems.
That's really smart. And it's interesting you say that, because a lot of people may not really understand behind the scenes what goes into the production, and where you're saying different companies would have different technologies or different machinery or different expertise. Obviously, that comes out at the end of the day in the quality of the knife and the overall package that you get. So very interesting point.
Okay, sometimes it could look like I'm trying to work with everyone, like some kind of contractor. Okay, but the real thing is I like to work with different companies because everyone is giving me something and making me a better designer. So it's really important for me.
Yeah, no, that's smart. That's smart. So my next question is, this path has now led you to steel will. And again, going back to my original thought that, we met at SHOT Show 2020. How did you team up with Steel Will, and how did they get to the point where they had you as their representative at the SHOT Show 2020 booth?
Okay, so I would say we simply met each other the first time during IWA show a lot of years ago, probably 2011 or something like that. And because I was working at that time, I was working as a, you can say, steward or commercial, or you decide what, but I was helping Viper inside their booth in the show. So Steel Will was around, and we met during the exhibition, and we started what I can call a good friendship, because we were not working together at the moment. We were just speaking nice with that guy, then that became the person who I work with for the design. But at that time, it was just a friendship that grew during the years, and then we started with a project.
Nice.
But I've also been working during exhibition with several different partners, because sometimes I went to Italian exhibition with some shops, and sometimes I helped with some manufacturers. Sometimes I'm around as journalist. So this time, Steel Will asked me to go to the SHOT Show, and I've never been to the SHOT Show before, because it's more gun related. Okay, so in the past I always went to Blade Show or IWA Show or other exhibitions. So it was really interesting for me because I have never been in Las Vegas before, and they asked me to help to be the they can run the booth by themselves, okay, because they know what to do. They just asked me to be the knife guy, okay. So to speak with you, everyone who has an inquiry, not about commercial matters, but about the knife, the materials, the use, or something like this. So it was exactly what I love to do. So
yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So did you enjoy Las Vegas in the SHOT Show?
Probably I enjoyed more the SHOT Show than Las Vegas, because I'm not into, I don't like to go to the slot machines or other things that you can do in Las Vegas. Okay, I'm not probably the best people for the best man for the Sin City. Okay,
Yeah,
so I enjoy more the show. I am also interested in guns. In the past, I also worked making review about guns for the Italian magazines, and at the SHOT Show you can see are completely forbidden in Italy. So like silencers and automatic weapons or big calibers. So for me, it was just playing with my toys.
Yeah. Well, so now that we're talking steel will, like I mentioned again at the very end of our discussion, looking at the brand new steel will lineup for 2020, you did reveal at that time that you were the designer for the piercer. Now, I've seen a lot of really good size YouTube reviewers covering the piercer. I mean, everybody really seems to like this knife, and now I have it in my hands. And this has been great. I've been using this for a couple of months now, very regularly. And not only do I have the full frame lock version, but I also got the light version, and both of these have been great. So I'd like you to talk me through just a little bit of your design thought and process on these. Yeah, just, go through kind of how this came to you conceptually and how these ended up in my hands.
Okay, so the idea behind the piercer was to make an EDC, okay, a full-size EDC, at least what you can consider a full size here in Europe. I know that in the US you are used to bigger knives, but in Europe we have several laws, and usually we carry smaller knives. So that is probably the best EDC and the one I would carry if I can go around without thinking about what is legal and what is not.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think, for me, I tend to like a bigger knife, but I wouldn't call this small. It's definitely, it's a nice size blade. So when you look at it, in terms of your palm length, I would say this is probably right in line with what would be considered a legal limit here. Knife laws in certain areas in the United States can be strict. A lot of times it does come down to the local authorities and what they want to consider reasonable. And I think it just depends on who you bump into and how much trouble they're going to give you for what you carry. But there's a few things that for me very, very, very much resonate. I typically like a full flat grind. I typically like a drop point design. I typically do a lot of harder utility work with my folders. So to have this perfect tip that's really right in line, with the center line of the handle, just good fit in the hand. You have that nice full-size grip. I mean, this knife, it's maybe considered a small knife, but it can do some big work. This is a nice feeling blade.
Okay, I'm happy to hear it. So the idea here was to first of all, like always, I started from the handle because ergonomic is always my first problem. Okay, because a drop point blade is nothing new. Okay, you can take any drop point and probably it will perform at least good. But if you have the wrong handle, maybe you can't do some kind of works. You are not. You don't have a firm grip. You are not working with safety. So the handle was my first the first point when I focused that, and then came the blade. So I have my piercer here, the one that is usually inside my rotation. Okay, so daily carry rotation, and you can see that. I hope you see the knife. Okay, you see the main thing is the index groove, because this one gives you a good part of the grip, and this one is probably the main point of the complete ergonomic of the knife. once you have your finger here, the knife is already in your hand, and when you hold it, it's absolutely natural. You don't have to think about how you are supposed to keep the knife. You simply grab it and you are okay. And also, we don't have edges, we don't have textures. You don't need to handle the knife just in one or two ways. You can do quite everything, because I show you. This is the usual way, okay? But you can also use the hammer grip. You can reverse, and you have where to put your thumb. You can also work like this if you have to cut in this way. And if you need to, you want to make a point to a stick, okay, and maybe you are tired, you can take the knife this way, put it on your chest, and here you are just breathing. You are not moving your arms, you are just breathing and opening your chest and working with the knife in complete safety, because you are not doing this and going you don't know where with the point, but you are working with control and full safety. So the idea was that you have a knife that you can use in any way you want.
It's interesting how you say that when you index on that finger choil, I guess that's what you call that, right? Kind of like a finger choil, right? And you put your fingers naturally right onto that handle. They all touch, like you said, exactly naturally. So you're really not adjusting your grip in any way. You're literally just closing your hand, and this knife is just melting into it. So from that perspective, that's absolutely nailed. And I never really thought about that. I mean, I've thought in the past about naturally closing my hand, but I've never thought about really how your fingers all touch at once. And when you put your hand down, that's what happens. So all four fingers, and actually even your thumb, just naturally close. And it's almost like you're just making a little bit of a fist, but that handle just fitting in there and contouring absolutely perfect.
Okay, and for example, you see that there is that flat area between the finger groove and the blade. Okay,
Right.
This one is so large because you can also move your finger. So if you put this one here, you have enough space to put the other one on this flat area. Okay, it's not a kind of grip that you can use for hard working because you are too near to the blade. But if you are doing something really precise, you can control the knife better. And also about the spine, you can place the thumb here, but if you need, you can also go on the full length, and you don't have anything that don't give you the opportunity to place the thumb where you prefer. So you can also place it on the flat if you are working in this way.
Yeah, it's got a real nice big opening for the for the opening mechanism. Nice and large. So very easy to get on. Nice soft jimping on the top, and that unsharpened swedge. Just a real nice look, and you can do some push cuts on there. It's not going to bother you. I mean, even with the unsharpened swedge there, it's not too sharp. So you do definitely have the ability to get on there if you want to do some push cuts, things like that. So great shape. And I had not personally thought of the idea of bringing my hand forward and then gripping with my sort of middle finger and wrapping my index finger around. That gives you a real good control. I mean, look at that. I mean, my thumb is almost all the way to that tip of the blade. So talk about really getting a good, precise angle on that. I mean, if you had to like dig out a splinter or something like that, you can really do some good, precise work without any danger. So that's pretty good. I never thought of that grip, and I know from now on I will definitely use that.
This is obviously just for the advanced user. Okay, so if you are used to Nordic knives or any knife without double guard or without quillons or anything else, probably you can handle the knife like this without problem. Okay, and the same if you take the knife from the blade. The blade is large enough so you can take the blade between your fingers, but you need to know what you are doing, obviously.
Right, right. So I was doing a little bit of messing around one day. Hang tight, just 1 second. So we had gotten into some conversation, and I was explaining to you how I also had my own knife design called the TFK T17. Now, prior to SHOT Show, I was coming up with a few different sizes of my knife. So my standard length is a 6-inch blade. And I was coming up with a 5-inch and a 4-inch version. And after I started talking to you, I had my notebook literally sitting open on my desk. And then I had got the piercer and I was looking at it and I'm like, it's crazy how things happen. And I promise I didn't copy this, but when I looked at the shape of that, I was like, I'm not exactly sure I can produce my T17 in a 4-inch version and save face on that one. But the reason why I bring that up is it's a good utility and natural blade shape with a perfect belly for good slicing tasks, that nice drop point design where it puts the tip of the knife right in line with the center line of the handle. And so, you know, when I saw this type of shape it's in my brain for good quality ergonomics and blade design. And, you know, like I showed you, you know, I have similar design philosophies and ideas about what works for me. So when I see this design, I'm like, that's just gonna work. And you can tell after listening to you talk about this and the thought that's gone into it, from the ergonomics, the blade shape, the handle shape, the overall intended use, it's absolutely there. So real quick, I did want to mention the fact that you do have a couple of versions that you've come out with. Now, the one that you have in your hands, that is a full frame lock design, correct?
Yes. There is also a liner lock version in 2 different versions, because, okay, you have the black one. There is also another one with the satin finish. So the same blade you have on the titanium one.
Yep. Now, I can't make up my mind which one of these I like better. I got to tell you, I am actually very happy with the light version. I thought I was going to naturally gravitate more towards the titanium handle with the frame lock. But I probably carry the light one more. I don't know why. They're both really, really great. The pocket clip is outstanding. A really, really excellent design. Full deep carry, flush to the top of your pocket, which is nice. It's the perfect springiness, so this goes into your pocket with ease. It doesn't get snagged. It doesn't mar up your pants. And that finish, I really, really like. I mean, what's that considered? A stonewash finish, would you call it?
I will say so.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a great job. These blades are absolutely beautiful and really excellent to see this, you know, design. Now, have you considered making this piercer also in a fixed blade version?
Not at the moment, because I didn't receive this kind of ideas from steel wheel, but also because I would not consider this one to be a good fixed knife. And the reason is because we spoke about how I came to this design, okay? So this design is obviously a compromise because this length is for me the right length for a folding knife. When you come to me asking for a knife with more than, I would say, more than 10 centimeters of blade, so 4 inches, okay? Usually, I suggest to go with a fixed one. So I prefer to stay under 4 inches with folders and then to go with fixed blades, because if you know something about physics, okay, when you start using a knife with a long blade, everything that happen at the end of the blade will arrive to the pivot and to the mechanics multiplied. Okay,
Right.
so if you want a big knife, please go with a fixed blade. Also, the shape of the blade is a compromise, because I also like completely different blades. For example, for EDC, I really like the Warncliffe or the Sheepfoot blade, but this knife was also intended for self-defense. Okay, it's not the main purpose, is not the main activity, but we started speaking about an all-rounder, so it has to do also this. So I wanted a real point, and that's the way it's called, the piercer, and in line with the handle, as you said. So, and I also want the blade to be easy to sharp. So that's why you don't see, for example, an S shape, okay? Because you need to keep it really sharp. We made high bevels because we didn't want the bevels to affect the cutting capability, okay? And so everything in this knife is made to cut and to pierce everything, because we can't know what you are going to do during your day. Okay, it's not a specific knife. In this case, I try to give to the user the best knife I can with all the characteristics that I can put in the same design. So that's probably the idea behind it.
I noticed that you had a couple of different methods to deploy the blade.
Okay, yes. Some people, even during the SHOT Show, ask me why didn't we put a flipper on this knife? Okay, so quite all the steel wheel production has flipper, not washers, but ball bearings.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
I prefer to go with the washers because ball bearings are great if you want fast opening, but this knife is not small and is not intended just for the city. So if you go into the outdoor and you simply drop the knife in a sandy place, probably you will regret having ball bearings inside. So I prefer to stay with washers. They are a bit slower than ball bearings, but you can trust them for a long time, and also maintenance is more easy, and so on. Answering to your question, I think that we don't need a flipper here, because you can open the knife with the thumb. Okay, the hole here is big. The design is a bit edgy, so your finger will stick inside the window and will not slip away. So you can open the knife with your thumb. You can open the knife with your index finger. You can also do it fast with the thumb or with the index. But I think the washers and the pivot and all the mechanics is so well tuned from the manufacturer that you don't even need to use your fingers, because I can simply do this just with my wrist and the knife is open. And also, if you want to use it in the reverse grip, just do this and the knife is open. So I don't need to add a flipper. That is nice if you want to play with it, but it's something that goes out from the scales and maybe could be not so comfortable when you carry the knife in your pocket or inside the waistband. So that's the reason why. I think the knife is easy enough to open in quite every way you need. Also, if you are lefty, you can use it without problems. Even if some people are still saying that frame locks and liner locks are just for right-handed user, but you can simply find out to use it and it's okay.
I'm glad you brought up a couple of great points. And personally, for me, I always prefer washers versus ball bearings. I mean, I'm not a fidgety guy. I'm not looking for my, little fidget flipper. Like, I'm a knife user. I use my blades. They get beat up. They get scratched. They get hard use. So for me, washers is definitely the way to go. And yeah, you get even a little grain of sand inside your ball bearings and you're going to be frustrated. It's not always easy to clean. Sometimes it can cause damage. So to have the good sturdy blade with the washers, you don't get any blade play. There is no wobble there whatsoever. And I've never tried I got to learn the method to flick that out without without getting my thumb in there. But that was pretty smooth, man. I don't know. I got to practice that.
No, probably you will need a bit of lubrication, because on all my knives, I have it here so I can show it. All my knives are without lubricant, except because I don't want the knife to be stuck with sand and ashes and everything that can go inside and stick with the oil. But so I usually clean everything with alcohol, and then I put just a few drops of this one.
Nice.
So 2 drops of the Victorinox oil on both sides of the washers, and you see.
Nice.
Without any movement, but you can open it like you want. So just try to do this, and probably you will you will open a knife so fast.
Well, I'll get on that and practice. So, Tommaso, thank you, man. I really appreciate you bringing, me and my audience, through some of your past, through this steel wheel piercer. My question now is, you have anything new in the pipeline? You got anything in the works with steel wheel, or what's next for Tommaso Rumici?
I would really love to know what to answer, okay? Because I have always a lot of designs around different manufacturers, but usually I don't know what is going to go into production and what is not, if until probably 1 month because the next exhibition. So I have several designs ready for steel wheel, but I don't know if they are. First of all, I hope they are satisfied with the piercer, because they are not they are working for money. They are really passionate. They are really they really love what they do, but obviously they are a manufacturer, so they need to do something that is well sold on the market. So this is the first point, and then I don't know exactly what their customers are now asking for, because during the SHOT Show I had several hints for the visitors, and some people are looking for more EDC, some others. For example, a lot of people were looking at the steel wheel Kobold, that is really a small one. I don't know, people are so interested in fixed blade at the moment. And we'll see, because, for example, I really love backlocks, but at the moment you see a lot of liner locks and frame locks. Even if backlock for me has some good points, like it's ambidextrous, or it's easier to do for some aspects. So I have always to confront myself and my ideas with the market. So we'll see. But I hope to come out with a new steel wheel design, because I really like how they work, because they are fast, they are precise, they you see that they are not just trying to put something out as soon as possible. They are thinking about what they are doing. So I really like the approach.
Nice. Well, it's great to see these collaborations and to see your work and translating into great products. So it's good that a manufacturer is going to take their time, make sure that they get the product fully developed, and really bring your creation to life in a fashion that's consistent with the vision that you had. You never want to rush. At the end of the day, it's a harmonious relationship between the designer and the manufacturer. So it's one thing for you to have an idea in your mind. You're now relying on that manufacturer to translate that into really what you're going to hope is going to be a perfect product that not only performs, but has all the fit and finish and the mechanics that you're looking for. So having a company that you trust and that takes their time to get it right, that's definitely important.
Yes, I really appreciate that, because sometimes it happened often when I look around to see what's new on the market. You see that some models are not fully developed. Okay, it looked like they started with a good idea, they did everything, but at the end they had to go to the show. They need a new product, and so they put in production what is not 100% complete. Okay, and it's always sad, because sometimes you have a great design or you have a great mechanism with one problem, two problems, or something that ruins everything. So
Yep.
maybe you have the best mechanism of the latest 10 years, but with the blade that is unpractical, or with the handle that is not so ergonomic, and so it's not good. With the steel wheel, I had all the time I needed to check, to see, to modify, and I can also speak with them and ask their opinion. So they are not expecting me to go there with a design ready for production. And this is always the way I prefer to work, because always with Viper, my first designs with Viper, they were not so nice as they became at the end of the process. Because when you speak with someone that is making knife from 40 years ago, probably they can teach you something, even if you have a good design. And I think with all my customers, I work in this way, because sometimes I start from my idea, sometimes I start from what they ask me to do, but at the end there is always some time for confrontation, to speak and to decide together. I never went to a manufacturer just giving them the design without any discussion about it.
Right. No, and that's good, because it obviously comes out in a collaborative effort to really get the details right at the end of the day, taking your design experience and really combining that with their machining and manufacturing techniques that are specific to the brand. So that makes a lot of sense. So, Tommaso, I am up against the end of my coffee here. I'm going to need myself a little refill to keep my day moving. And I'm sure as your day progresses, it's, time to enjoy your afternoon. I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking the time today. I mean, that was great. I learned a lot about you. You're an interesting guy with a great story. And I'm really hoping, a lot of designs that we can cover in the future. I'm hoping I can catch up with you at the trade shows, and this is just a start. So again, thank you very, very much. And so for everybody watching, just real quick, how do people find your work, and how do people, find you?
Oh, you can simply look for my name, because my my website is tommasorumici.com, so absolutely simple. And you can probably, at the moment, the best way to see everything I do and everything I did in the past is my Instagram account, that is also Tommaso Rumici. So it's not hard to find me. You can also email me, because I'm not, English is not my first language, so probably you need to give me a few minutes to explain what I want to do. But I love to speak about knives, and not only my knives, and not only to sell me or to sell my knives, because I started as a knife collector, and then it happened that I became a designer, but I'm still a knife collector. So when I'm around the shows, I'm still going to Spyderco and looking at the new knives. If I see something new for a brand that I never met before, I'm always interested, not in a new collaboration, but I'm interested in see what's new, because I still love the knives world. So just keep in touch, and if you or anyone has any question, I'm absolutely happy to answer.
Thanks, man. It's great to hear the passion and see it. What a great interview. I appreciate the time today. Thank you very much. And you take care of yourself. We'll see you soon.
I hope so. You're welcome.